Hello, good morning, and welcome to Sunday Sermon with me, Graham Hughes, on Politics Social. Hope you're all having a groovy morning so far. A little bit late getting started there, but it's Remembrance Day and shit, so whatevers. Hello, and welcome to everyone in the chat as well. We've got Pete's Music, we've got Jenny Robinson, we've got Diz in the chat. We have got... I think that's about it. Having a chat with each other. Hello, everybody. How you all doing? Diz says, morning, Graham. Morning, Diz. How you doing? And Jenny Robinson says, morning, X. And that was actually held for moderation because you're not allowed to put X. No kisses. No kisses allowed. Very puritanical of you, YouTube. Anyway, welcome. It is Sunday, the 9th of November, 2025. And today we're going to be talking about capitalism and socialism. Because I think this is the words that are kind of like bandied around a lot. And I find it quite interesting that a lot of the people who go, oh no, socialism's going to come and it's going to take your firstborn. And you're like, well, no, it's not, is it? And they go, tell me one country where socialism has worked. And you go, okay. Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Switzerland, Iceland. Do you want me to keep going? Like, these countries all have a tinge of socialism about them. They are not unfettered, unbridled capitalist countries. And do you know who else I'd add to that list of socialist countries or socialist-leaning countries? This may come as a bit of a shock to some of our American viewers. Not that they're going to be awake right now because it's the crack of dawn over there. But the USA. I'll add the USA. Two reasons, right? One is the school buses. In America, they have school buses. They come pick the kids up and take them to school from outside the house. They come outside the house. They stop outside people's houses and the kids run out the house and jump on the bus and they get taken to school. And that's paid for by taxes. It's quite socialist. It's quite a socialist situation. Here in the UK, if we want our kids to be able to get to school, we have to pay hundreds of pounds a year for the bus. Hundreds of pounds. And where we are, they have to get two buses. So it's double what any other kid would have to pay. And there's a refoot councillor down in the south who's trying to make it, I think it's in Warwickshire. Someone look this up. He's trying to make it so that instead of it being you get a free bus pass if you live 3 miles from where your school is, you can only have it if you live 5 miles. So he expects children who live 4.9 miles away from the school which they attend to walk to school and back in the dark in the middle of winter, an almost 10-mile round trip. Now, I'm old enough to remember adverts on the TV where there was a kid with a bucket of water and they'll say, little Johnny here has to walk 10 miles every day for a bucket of water. And you watched that and you thought, fucking hell, that's a bit shit, isn't it? Which it was. It is. It still is. But at the same time, we make kids in this country walk that far. Not in America. They have school buses. Okay, so that's one thing. Slightly socialist, right? The other thing is the army. There's over like 1 million people in America who are employed in the army in some way. And the people who aren't employed anymore are veterans. And oh my God, the socialism for them is just off the charts. Their wages are paid for by the taxpayer. You know, they're paid out of taxes. They're not paid out of war booty or dissolving the monasteries. It's paid for out of taxes. And these kids in the military have the most, not just like the most whiz-bang, up-to-date technology in the world, but also, you know, on the big battleships they've got, you know, those big aircraft cruisers that they have? Sorry, Adobe is asking me to restart my computer. Fuck off. Adobe One Kenobi. Update the force, Luke. Anyway, so got distracted there by having to get rid of a bloody pop-up. Anyway, so yeah, you know those big landing things that they have, you know, from Top Gun, where they land on the aircraft carriers. Yeah, aircraft carriers. They're the size of fucking cities. Those aircraft carriers have McDonald's on board, and KFC, and Popeyes, and Carl's Jr., and Starbucks on board these ships. You know, those soldiers, I mean, I don't think the pay is amazing, but For every dollar you spend in tax in America, I think about 50 cents of it goes towards the military in one way or another. It's either the military industrial complex or to soldiers' wages or to, new technology, R&D, all that kind of stuff. By the way, the R&D budget is being raided at the moment to pay for the squaddies. Did you know that? Yeah. So if America falls behind in the tech race in the next few years, it will all be Trump's fault. But let's put a pin in that for now. So this is an incredibly socialist system. It is a system in which people pay into this thing, the government, and then the government pays for the accommodation, the food, and the wages, the lifestyle of these million or so people who work for the military in one way or another. That's all that money is coming from the taxpayer. All the money to build nuclear weapons and to build F-15 fighter jets. It all comes from the taxpayer. They're paying for it. America goes off on these mad military adventures around the world. It's the American taxpayer paying for it. Obviously, the people in the country, they're paying for it, but in a different way, they're paying with their lives. Whereas the Americans are just paying out their wallet for weapons that are being used on the other side of the world to do stuff. It's quite socialist, if you think about it. But the reason why I'm talking about it this week is because Zohran Mamdani has won convincingly in New York. He's the first openly democratic socialist mayor of New York. It's the DSA, the Democratic Socialists Association, I think, of America. Or maybe it's just Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA. I don't know. But he is the first openly socialist mayor who says, yeah, I'm a socialist. And in America for a long time, because of the propaganda war against communism and therefore socialism for some reason, you had a lot of people saying, no, I don't like socialism. You had a lot of people on the right who'll go things like really daft stuff like, oh, well, Nazi was actually short for the National Socialist and German Workers' Party. Actually had socialist in the title. Yeah, that was about as socialist as, I don't know, the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea is actually democratic. like the Democratic Republic of Congo definitely has a fully fledged democratic system. That's, all the checks and balances are there. They've got free press. They've got, come on, please. This isn't a small town in fucking, I don't know, New England, somewhere in Vermont, or some quirky left college town in America. This is New York City. This is the global capital of finance. This is like ground zero of capitalism as we know it. That this late stage capitalism in which we are living, in a world in which someone can be given $1 trillion pay bonus for a company that makes fewer cars than Toyota. I mean, a lot fewer cars than Toyota. Let's have a look. Let's just Google. Should we Google together? Come on, everyone. Let's Google together. Car sales, Tesla versus Toyota. Okay. So, wow. Okay. So, let's see. Model Y was the best selling in 2024, but in 2025, the RAV4 Toyota has overtaken it. Yes. And Toyota has sold over 10 million cars. Wow. Of the 10 best-selling models of cars in the world, Toyota has 5 of them. Yeah. What I want actually is a how does Tesla compare with Toyota? There's a thing here. I don't know how old this is though. Can you give me a date? Yeah, Tesla's stock is almost up since 5 times since the pandemic. Automotive revenues. Okay, here you go. Yeah, even at the start, I mean, in 2020, the Tesla revenues were 27. What is that? What is that in? Can you give me what it's actually? Don't just give me numbers. Give me billions. Yeah. So where in 2020, Tesla's car sale revenue was 27 billion, right? Toyota's was 250 billion. Almost 10 times the amount. Like, but now the Tesla stock is worth, what, 10 times more than Toyota's? Like, I'm sorry, but can someone just explain to me how that's not a bubble that's going to burst? There's nothing behind it. There's nothing holding it up. It just seems like the maddest thing in the world to me, that you've got one of the most valuable companies in the world is making a lot less money than a lot of other car companies, and especially a lot less than Toyota. But there you go. That's the stock exchange. Listed on the stock exchange. So yeah, they can just decide how much it's worth. But if democratic socialism can win in the Big Apple, first of all, it's not fringe anymore. Secondly, it can win anywhere. Just get people on board. Explain. That's what you need to do. Just explain why this is a good thing, and be a counter to the propaganda that's been forced down our throats our entire lives. That capitalism is the only fair way of doing it, darling. You know what you do is you get the kids who were born rich and you put them in charge of everything. And then nothing is ever enough for these motherfuckers, so you have to just keep buying them things. Giving them more money so they can have more money and more money and more money. What is it like? A million seconds is a few days. A billion seconds is a few months, and a trillion seconds is 32,000 years. Yeah. R.I.P. Quinton Wilson. Yeah, Top Gear and Fifth Gear. I think he was on Channel 5. Yeah, I liked a bit of Quinton. He seemed like a nice guy. So anyway, going back to Mamdani, his victory wasn't narrow. It was decisive. It was multiracial, multi-class, and citywide. Some billionaires backed him, not many, but some actually backed him. He beat Curtis Sewa and Andrew Cuomo's machine simultaneously, showing voters aren't scared of the word socialist when the message is concrete. Rent freezers, affordable childcare, free buses, new bodegas, new markets set up in New York that's set up by the city so you can get cheap fruit and veg, subsidized fruit and veg. The American right called him a communist, and the voters were like, all right. And that's significant because the smear of socialism equals evil is losing its emotional power. Because in the age of Trump and Orban and Farage and Putin, especially amongst younger voters who have lived their entire lives under this predatory late-stage capitalism, which aims to screw you of every penny. We did Rachel and I a couple of weeks ago. We did a top 50 horror film countdown, and we gave honorable mentions, didn't we? Oh no, it was Dystopian. It was last week. We did Dystopian. We gave honorable mentions to some TV shows, including Black Mirror. Now there was a Black Mirror that came out in the latest season, right? And it's fucking horrific. I mean, it's one of the darkest Black Mirror episodes, and that's saying something. And what it is there's a woman and her husband, and they love each other, but they're just muddling through. One's a school teacher, the other one works in a steelworks or a garage or something. Hang on, Yuri Infectinov, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. As Spike Milligan once said, money doesn't buy you happiness, just a better class of misery. Very good. But in this episode, thank you very much, Yuri, by the way. In this episode of Black Mirror, so there's this working class, blue collar family, right? The husband and wife. And the wife has an accident and she ends up going to hospital, and they say, we need to do something to her to keep her alive. And it means putting part of her brain in the cloud, or whatever, the way they just explained it. But essentially attaching her to the internet effectively, so that she has to pay a subscription to stay alive. And at the beginning they're like, okay, well, it's $250 a week, we can afford that just about if we pool our resources. But then they put the price up. So what do? Well, we can't afford that. We literally can't afford to pay that each week. And they're like, well, that's a subscription service, and if you don't want it, you can quit. But if they do that, the wife will die. She has to stay attached to the internet effectively, or she will cark it. And they keep putting the price up, and then they start adding adverts, and the wife's in the middle of doing teaching in a school, and she just goes into this kind of like mode of, you need to buy these nappies right now. They are the best nappies on the market. A bit like Truman's wife in The Truman Show, where she's doing the commercials. Yeah, she's doing that, but like against her will. And they're like, she can't continue being a teacher doing this. And then you've got the added issue of the fact that, he's that they have less income coming in, and then they put the price up again. This is predatory capitalism. This is exactly what it's like. And you see this in America. Obviously, that was an allegory. But in America, where you have to pay for your healthcare because they're so scared of what they call socialized medicine, it is just absolutely mind-blowing what Americans are prepared to put up with. They see themselves as these, double R bastards, frontiersmen, going out and punching bears in the middle of the fucking wilderness and all this kind of stuff. But they're actually pussies. Like, Americans are the fucking biggest fucking pussies on the planet because they just take it. They just take it. Like, they have their children murdered in schools. After Sandy Hook, that should have been the end of handguns in America. That should have been the end of assault weapons in America. But it wasn't. In fact, sales of handguns and sales of assault weaponry went up. The industrial military complex made a fucking killing out of Sandy Hook. And that was the point where the American people were like, nah, it's all right. We'll sacrifice our children to, the god of commerce, the god of capitalism. And that was it. I mean, there's that. And then there's the point that Breaking Bad could never happen in the UK because you turn up at the oncologist and they'll say, listen, I'm sorry, but you got lung cancer and we're going to have to treat you. And it's going to be a difficult, long treatment, radiotherapy, chemotherapy. But, there is a good chance that you might, survive this. And how much is that going to cost me? Oh, my God, am I going to have to start cooking crystal meth in order to make ends meet? No, Mr. White. No. It's free. It's literally free. Because you're a citizen of this country and we value your life. Unlike in America where they're like, oh no, please make me pay. I don't want socialized medicine, but this is where I feel like it's going to backfire on a lot of these propagandists for capitalism with all the rich people, because they keep going, well, socialism is a bad thing, and you don't want socialized medicine, because that's socialized is a bad thing. But once we get to a point where the majority of people don't think that socialism is a bad thing, and they're looking at countries that are more socialist and going, yeah, they work, then the term socialized medicine stops being a pejorative and it begins to be something that people might actually think, yeah, I want that. I'd love to get free healthcare at the point of delivery. And I think that Trump, in everything that he's doing now, is accelerating the march towards that. What's happened this week has really given me hope. Really given me hope that America, at some point in the future, I don't think it's going to happen very soon, but could turn the corner. And I think that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And for Trump, he's gone so far to the right, so far to the fash, so far to authoritarian, Gestapo bullshit of, people jumping out of cars and kidnapping women off the streets because they think that they're not white enough. I think there's just going to be a massive reaction against that all over America. And we saw that on Tuesday night where, let's face it, the Democrats lost all of their elections. There were little pissy elections going on for fucking sanitation commissioner in Pennsylvania or somewhere like just butt fuck nowhere for a position like whatever. But everywhere that the Republicans stood, they lost. They lost everywhere. It was an absolute fucking drumming that they got. A shellacking, as they say in the US of A. But that message, socialism equals evil, it's clearly not cutting through. Because people said, oh, well, this guy says he's a socialist, but I'm going to vote for him anyway. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is allowing the markets to decide everything, which is communism. Because you'll always get a situation if you don't have a regulation, if you don't have a Monopolies and Mergers Commission, if you don't have antitrust laws, you will end up with just omnicorps that control all social media, that control all of the films that we watch, that control all the cinemas, that control all of the live events that we're allowed to go and see and how much they cost. And they will price gouge, like we saw with Ticketmaster and Live Nation, who are, that Ticketmaster bought Live Nation and became the most evil corporation in the world, which is saying something in a world where, Rupert Murdoch exists. But yeah, making people wait for hours on end to get through for Oasis tickets. And then when they finally get through, the price is hiked up to £400 a ticket, and you've got to make that decision in 5 minutes. Sorry, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. No, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. How disgusting, how absolutely reprehensible. And that's what happens. You end up with the same food from the same outlets everywhere because the little guy can't compete. The little person can't compete against the big omnicorps, the big supermarkets. You got your local greengrocer trying to go up against Sainsbury's and Asda and Tesco and Waitrose, I think it is. They have these things down in the south called Waitrose. I've never really experienced one. I think it's like Marks and Spencer's food, but like even more expensive and pretentious. I don't know. We don't have it up north. We just have loads of Lidls and Aldi's. We used to have Nettos. In the Netto. And his mother cries. We don't have Nettos anymore. They were great. I used to have a local Netto where I lived in Oval Park, just around the corner. Anyone who knows Oval Park will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, great days. So let's talk a little bit about what democratic socialism is and a little bit what it isn't. First of all, it's not communism. I think that unfettered capitalism is closer to communism than socialism. It's not about seizing people's farms or liquidating people's assets and taking it for the state. It's not about the peasants rising up and living in the palaces of the elites. It's about democratically controlling essential services, housing, transport, energy, so they serve the public good rather than shareholder profits. It blends public ownership with market mechanisms depending on what works. The system is behind some of the happiest and richest per person democratic countries in the world, the most richest and happiest societies. Nobody in Norway is crying themselves to sleep at night because Statoil is publicly owned. This is the source of the sovereign wealth fund that they have in Norway, which has a little nest egg of over £100,000 per citizen. Per citizen. £1,000,000 Danish, Norwegian kroner per person. That's how much the fund is worth. And they use that fund to invest. Now, they invest in some awful shit. They invest in weapons. And obviously the money's come from oil, so that's not great either. So, I'm not even saying like Norway is the be all and end all, because I absolutely don't think it is. It's quite hypocritical in a way, a country where last year every single car that was sold was an electric car, but at the same time they're one of the biggest oil exporters in the world. So they're destroying the planet, but they're just kind of like offsetting it. So it's like, no, it's not us burning the oil, it's other countries. But Mamdani's favourite quote is, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children. And that quote actually comes from Martin Luther King. The right will call Martin Luther King a Marxist today. When they're not even close. They're not even close to communism, because they're not saying that all the wealth needs to be redistributed like amongst everyone. They're saying that we need to get these big companies and big corporations under control. That's it. And who needs to control them? Who needs to have the ultimate oversight? The representatives of the people, our delegates, the people that we vote to represent us, should have the final say on what these fucking companies and corporations and oligarchs get up to. And this is why I wouldn't say that socialism is revolutionary. It's not. We already have it embedded in a lot of our systems. As I said earlier, they have it in America in their school buses and also in their fucking army and their military. You know, it's a socialist service. It's paid for by taxes. People's lives paid for by taxes. Oh, like, it's not a private company putting up the fucking traffic lights and the street lights and stuff like that in America. It's not. I mean, you might pay a private company to do it, but the money to pay for that to be done comes from the taxpayer, whether that's a state tax or whether it's a federal tax. The same with this country when we talk about, you know, these dickhead bloody self-made billionaires who are always nepo babies, always children of the rich, aren't they? And they're like, oh, nobody gave me anything. And we're just screaming at them. Someone else built your school, you daft twat. Someone else built the sewers that you flush your shit down for the first 18 years of your life before you made it on YouTube or whatever the fuck you did. But, you know, no one gave them anything. The writers who say that, no, I just came up with a great idea for a book and I got it published. And I'm like, well, that's nice, especially if your dad knows someone in the publishing industry, which is the only really way to get published in this country. You know, you've got to be a celebrity. Got to have a walking part on EastEnders, and then finally, you can publish that book that you've been bouncing around your head for the last 15 years. But yeah, the the way that the capitalist system has left us demoralized, you know, and left us feeling like we don't have a say over so many things. It's crushing when we can't do the things we want to do in life. Whether that's go visit our family because it's too expensive to take the train, or whether that's buy a house, or whether that's to have kids. We live in a world now where there's so many of us, myself included, who would love to have kids, but we don't because we know we can't afford it. I think that's fucking heartbreaking. And these fucking billionaires and twats and, you know, multi-millionaires. Jacob Rees-Mogg, he's worth over 100 million. His dad wrote a book called Blood on the Streets, how to make money out of a fucking crisis. This disaster capitalist. And he's going, yeah, people should have more children, obviously. You know, can't afford them, Jacob, you twat. Do you know why? Because you've stolen all our money, you fuck pig. Anyway, so yeah, the socialist model, or even the Democrat Socialists of America, you know, their model is reformist. It's not revolutionary. Medicare for all, rent control, universal childcare. These are mainstream policies in every single civilized country in the world to some degree. The UK already does versions of these. We did. We've only forgotten because the Tories gutted all these services and said, no, this is only for the rich. Nice things are only for the rich. The rich get free stuff. You know, if you're famous, we'll give you free clothes. We'll give you free food wherever you go. You know, just turn up at a restaurant, take a photo, put it on your Instagram, free food at this really expensive Michelin star restaurant for the rich, only for the rich. Oh, you want to get a credit card, do you? Okay, you don't want fees when you take the money out from a machine in another country. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we'll only do that for the people who are dead rich and wouldn't, you know, be that arsed about the fees because they're only about, you know, £5 or something. But for the rest of yous, you're going to have to fucking pay, motherfuckers, because you're not rich. Rich people getting VIP tickets to festivals and gigs. Do you think that, you know, David Beckham had to pay to go and see Oasis? Did he? Fuck. He got the ticket. He wasn't waiting there all fucking day on the Ticketmaster website going, oh, please get me tickets. And then finally it came through and he went, oh, fuck, Vic, it's 400 quid a fucking ticket, Vic. Oh, fuck it. Well, we're going to have to cancel our family holiday, aren't we? Our once-a-year family holiday. Because don't forget as well, while we're mentioning it, if you are rich enough to, I don't know, get your kid into a very posh private school, or even maybe, you know, you could homeschool them because you don't have to work somehow. I don't know. What's stopping you from taking the kids out on holiday somewhere lovely during the term time? Fuck all, actually. Fuck all. If you got the money, you can do it, right? It's the rest of us who can only take the kids on holiday during the summer holidays or the school holidays, at which point the price of everything doubles. So if you've got more money, you spend less on everyday shit. The rest of us, we spend more. Vimes boots. Vimes fucking boots, my friends. Vimes boots. And yeah, you know, it's great that we can drive to Liverpool for £3 if we charge our electric car. But we can only have an electric car because Kat's on a good salary and she has a salary sacrifice scheme that allowed her to essentially lease an electric car. Fucking great. That's good for us. But if she was on a smaller salary, we couldn't afford it. And at that point, instead of it costing £3 to get the four of us to go to Liverpool in the car, we'd have to spend over £300 getting train tickets. Because don't forget as well, once your kid is like 11, that's it. You've got to pay adult on everything. Because they're an adult now. They're earning their own money, you know. Absolute horrific. I don't need to explain to you, because you're living it, how shit this capitalist, unbridled, unfettered capitalist system is, and how shit it has been. Look at the trains. Look at the trains, half of which are now back under public ownership. And by the next election, all of them will be back under public ownership. Thank fuck for that. Look at the buses. Places where buses were deregulated. Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Newcastle. The bus services are fucking shite. They are dead expensive. They don't turn up. The drivers are fucking wankers who slam on the brakes at every fucking opportunity. Not all bus drivers, but all the bus drivers out on any bus I've ever been on, and I still take the bus. So, you know, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the day when I get on the bus and it's Ryan fucking Gosling from Drive. That's what I want. Get on the bus and you're just like, it's just, you come into a halt and it's just like, oh, how smooth was that? No, it's fucking janky. Every time I get on the bus, it's like slamming on the brakes. Slam on the brakes. Yeah, go on. Slam on the brakes. Go on, slam. Did someone step in front of the bus? Nah, mate. That's just the way I stop. Okay, cool. Anyway, I dream of the day. I'm not saying the bus drivers are any better in London. They probably aren't. But at least in London, the buses are socialised, essentially. You still got to pay for them, but they cost a lot less. £1.50 for a trip, innit? On a bus in London. It's £2.50 here for a shorter bus journey on a shittier bus that only comes once every 2 weeks. Yeah, capitalism. So yeah, socialism has been demonized for at least 40 years, all my life, maybe even longer. Since the Cold War, the US conservatives have spent billions branding socialism as akin to, I don't know, throwing people into fucking gulags or something. And American political culture has exported this paranoia, this fake paranoia globally, including to Britain, even though the definition of socialism is literally free healthcare. Their definition of socialism isn't really socialism, but let's use their definition, right? Good, let's do that. Let's have free healthcare in America. But Thatcher and Reagan, the twin fucking pillars of evil of the 1980s, they joined forces to turn public good into a slur. Reagan famously said the worst words in the English, like the most terrifying thing is if someone comes to your door and says, "I'm from the government, I'm here to help." And the other thing was Thatcher said, "There's no such thing as society." Was it society? There's no such thing as society. And people say, "Oh, she was misquoted." No, that's what she fucking meant. You should think of society because she bolstered that atomized, rampant individualism, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and all that bullshit. And they sold the lie that private companies are always more efficient, despite mountains of evidence proving the opposite. One of the reasons why in Britain, coal was taken under national, was nationalised, and the railways after the Second World War were nationalised because they were running so badly at the time. And they had no choice, really, in the same way that during the Tories' tenure, actually, train operators like LNER got nationalised. They got socialised, they did. And it wasn't because of some ideology on the Tories' behalf. They fucking hate this idea. But because no one could run that service in a way that was profitable and a good service under the auspices of a private organisation. It just wasn't going to happen. I haven't even mentioned the shit with the fucking waterworks. Jesus Christ. They are all absolute, total C units. I'm going to say C units because I realise that I can't really demonetize this this talk today. But what I will do is I'll put a 30-minute timer on for a few super chats because I think we should try and get some confetti for this morning before it turns into this afternoon. So yeah, if you are willing and able to drop a couple of quid in, but just give it a minute before you do, because otherwise it might come in under the goal. It doesn't start for like a minute or something. So I've had it where it's been on like 0 out of 5, and then someone's dropped a super chat, and then it stayed at 0. That's very frustrating. So just give it a minute. Yeah, so Thatcher and Reagan in the 1980s. So I've grown up with this. Like, I've not known anything other than dickheads telling me how we should be run like Great Britain PLC and how much better it is to just leave things to the market. And corporate-funded think tanks, I mean, we say mysteriously funded think tanks, they are corporate-funded. They manufacture anti-socialist propaganda. This is the Institution of Economic Affairs, the Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation in America, all funded by billionaires whose business model requires the public to hate socialism, to dislike it. And the British media followed suit. The Sun, the Mail, Telegraph, all owned by billionaires, all banging the drum that public sector is incompetent, while giant corporations are criminally incompetent and they fucking fleece us. There's a really good documentary that came out, God, it must have been about 20 years ago, called The Corporation. And what it is it takes the psychopath test, the famous, is it Mark Ronson wrote a book called The Psychopath Test? There is a psychopath test. It's a checklist of things that show whether you are a psychopath or not. Now, under American law, you might not believe this if you don't know this already, but in American law, if there is a legal dispute and it involves a corporation, the corporation is given the same rights as an individual. It's afforded the same right and dignity as an individual, as a human. So they're like, okay, well, if in a court of law in America, a corporation is seen as a human, let's do the psychopath test for corporations. Okay? So I'll look up this movie, actually. The Corporation, 2003. Bloody hell. That was a long time ago. I saw that at the cinema. Jesus. Okay, so let's have a look. Oh, I was hoping that its Wikipedia page would go through the Ooh, there was a sequel called The New Corporation, an unfortunately necessary sequel that came out in 2020. I need to watch that. The documentary shows the development of a contemporary business corporation from the legal entity that originated as a government-chartered institution meant to affect specific public functions to the rise of the modern commercial institution entitled to the most of the legal rights of a person, of a human being in America. So yeah, let's have a look. I'm trying to find. Oh, there you go. The diagnosis criteria in the DSM fucking for psychopath. Okay, let's go through these because I think this will be fun. National Government of Health, Psychology in the TSN, psychopath checklist. Do you reckon someone's made a checklist? Psychopathy checklist, Wikipedia. Thank you. Let's go. Right. Okay, so there's 20. Should we go through them all quickly? Okay, I'll do this as quickly as possible, right? I finally watched Final Destination Bloodlines yesterday. Still managed to keep the franchise fresh. Many sequels are planned. It was great, isn't it? It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the kid throwing the penny off the top of the tower at the beginning is just chef's kiss. Absolutely love it. So yeah, what have we got here? We've got item 1, glibness, superficial charm. Come on, that applies to so many corporations. Number 2, grandiose sense of self-worth. Absolutely. Look at Elon Musk. Look at everything he does. Number 3, the need for stimulation and proneness to boredom. I mean, okay, that overlaps a little bit with ADHD, but whatever. I used to thought psychologically lying, pathological lying, right? And this is a fascinating one, isn't it? If you ever met a pathological liar, they are terrifying and fascinating in equal measure. People who, especially if you know they're lying, especially if you're in on it, and well, not in on it, but you know that what they're saying is untrue. It's kind of devastating because there's nothing you can say to these people to make them understand that what they're saying isn't true, because in their misfiring brain, they honestly believe the thing that they're saying to be the truth. They've spent a lot of time convincing themselves of the lie before they try and convince anybody else of the lie. But that feeds into item number 5, which is they're conning and manipulative. If you don't think corporations are manipulative and pathological liars, then I've got a bridge to sell you. These corporations lie all the fucking time. They lie in court, they lie to their consumers, they lie to their customers, they lie to the people working for them. They just fucking lie. And this brings us on to item number 6. Lack of remorse or guilt. Do these companies ever get into trouble for any of the shit they pull? You know, the chemical disaster in Bhopal in India, which took the lives of hundreds of people. Over 500,000 were in the vicinity of the Union Carbide pesticide plant. And, we know that at least 3,767 people died. We know definitely, without a doubt, that many people died. 3,787 people died at this in December 1984, where they had an explosion in the Bhopal pesticide plant. This is an American company that owned this, and they've never ever taken any responsibility for this situation. They've never taken any responsibility. You also look at Monsanto, who made Roundup, which fucks people, which destroys people's lives, gives them cancer, and they just denied it. They just kept on denying it. They sold these crops that would only work with Roundup, and you couldn't buy anyone else's crop. And if you tried to, it was some cross-pollination in a neighboring farmer's field. They sued the farmer who had the cross-pollination. There was nothing they could do about it. I mean, this is, and they didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. This is the same company that made Agent Orange, by the way, famous from the Vietnam War. Yeah, that was Monsanto. Nice people. And then you've got shallow affect, item number 7, and item number 8, callous or lack of empathy, which is all corporations everywhere in the world. They just simply don't give a fuck. I don't know how they get people to work for them who just don't care about the trouble, the pain, the grimness that they cause. Item number 9 is a parasitic lifestyle. Parasitic lifestyle. What does that sound like to you? Do you think these corporations, these ultra-capitalist corporations, are doing this stuff for the good of society? No, they're parasites. They're absolute fucking parasites. Number 10, poor behavioral controls. Yeah. Look at Boeing. It was it decided in the mid-90s that it didn't want to be the most safest airline in the world, and the fucking plane started to crash. And then you've got promiscuous sexual behavior, which, I don't think a corporation necessarily does that kind of thing. But you look at the people who back the corporations, the people like Donald Trump, who's busy mates with one of the most notorious paedophiles in history. When you look at Boris Johnson and his wives and his mistresses and his mistress wives and all of his fucking kids, promiscuity goes hand in hand with the kind of people that run these corporations, the kind of people who go on and on about socialism being a bad thing. Early behavior problems. I mean, you could talk there about, I don't know, Coca-Cola creating Fanta so they could sell their sugar water to the Nazis, carbonated sugar water to the Nazis. You could talk about IBM, who owned Dell. A Dell laptop, that's IBM, right? They made the punch card machines for the gas chambers in Nazi Germany. That was IBM, right? Do you know IBM was still servicing those machines after the war started? Did you know that? IBM. Yeah. Early behavior problems. Henry Ford, famous anti-Semite. Early behavior problems. Number 13 is brilliant. Is lack of realistic long-term goals. I mean, any corporation that is just currently polluting the planet, clearly lack of realistic long-term goals, because they don't want to be around. They don't want the corporation to be around in 100 years' time. They don't even want the human race to be around in 100 years' time. They just want to make loads of money for themselves and laugh about it. Item 14 is impulsivity, which was seen time and time again with these big corporations. We could talk about the credit crunch in 2008, the Big Short, the time when all of these people working the stock market and stuff, they were like, okay, well, we can make all this money and we don't have to worry about it. Which brings us on to item number 15, irresponsibility. This is the psychopath test. These are all traits of a psychopath. Irresponsibility. Do you think it might be a bit irresponsible, right, to give people subprime mortgages that they know they're not going to be able to pay off? And then you end up with loads of people who are homeless because if you've foreclosed on their house, and then loads of people lose their money because they were sold these AAA packages that had this dog shit in the middle of them, which were these subprime mortgages. Yeah, a bit irresponsible. Union Carbide killing over 3,700 Indians. Bit irresponsible, And then number 16, hand in hand with that, failure to accept responsibility for own actions. How many people went to jail for Union Carbide killing 3,737 people? How many? How many people went to jail? No one. How many people went to jail in America or the UK for the credit crunch? No one went to jail. No one went to jail. Donald Trump, does he ever take responsibility for his own actions? No. Does Elon Musk ever take responsibility for his own actions? No. Item number 7 is many short-term marital relationships, which I think is quite funny, right? The psychopaths, they like to get married because obviously once you get married, you've got your partner under the thumb. They've stood up in front of their friends, their family, the inventor of the universe, and say, I'm not going to fuck anyone else for the rest of my life. Which I guess is a lovely thing to do. I'm sorry, I'm just far too much of a cynic to do that myself. Marital relationships, because they go from one marriage to the next, and they'll love bomb someone into submission, marry them, and then just put their feet up and do fuck all. Now, how does that translate into the corporate world? Well, look at all the fucking mergers that last about a fucking week. Skydance, Paramount, AOL, Online, Time Warner, Disney, 20th Century Fox. All these they'll merge and then they break up and then they merge. MSNBC, and then you've got juvenile delinquency, which, yeah. You've got revocation of conditional release. I don't really know what that means. But then number 20 is criminal versatility. Are these big corporations unfettered by modern capitalism? Are they criminal organizations? Yes. Trump's organization is a completely criminal organization. The crypto fascists who are sending out all this bullshit about these fucking pyramid schemes and get rich quick schemes. I mean, these get rich quick schemes are just to help people who are already rich get even richer. If everyone else fucking loses. I know there might be one or two winners, but it's a bit like everyone doing the lottery. Okay, fair enough. You can play the lottery, that's fine, and someone will win, and they'll win a lot of money, right? The vast majority of people who play the lottery won't win anything. There'll be a net loss for them, and that's the situation with crypto. But they always tell us about the millionaires. They always tell us about the people who won and the people who did really well out of it because they want to sell it. Because just like a lottery, the more people who play it, the more money there is in the prize fund. But the crypto is untraceable. It's really fucking awkward. It's not, it's not a great way of dealing with the money that I guess is left over at the end of the day from people with too much money. I don't know. But yeah, we'll look at for a moment on the Nordic model. I will stress again though, we are doing the super chat thing, but we've only got 15 minutes left. So if you do want confetti, you need to get your arse into gear. You don't have to. I don't mind. Bernie Madoff was one of the few who faced the music for a pyramid scheme, says Nick. Yeah, exception that proves the rule. Pete says, mate hires a limo for daughter's wedding, comes with no driver. He's raging 500 quid for a limo and nothing to show for it. Wow, that is fucking dodgy. That is. Hire a limo. Is there a driver? No. Wow. Bitcoin and crypto are two different things, says Nick. No, they're not. Bitcoin's a cryptocurrency. What are you talking about? Anyway, okay, so we're going on to the Nordic model. Is this going to be one of these things where you're like, well, actually, is being a socialist left wing? Is it, if you think about it under the dictionary definition? I think Bitcoin's a cryptocurrency. I think all cryptocurrency is a fucking con. And I think they fleece people out of fucking billions of pounds all over the world. Billions of dollars all over the fucking world. For criminals to make more money, like Trump. If you buy Bitcoin, you're buying into fucking Trump. You're basically giving him money. Which I never understand. It's like when people who smoke, they go, "Oh, I hate these corporations. They just kill us, and expect our money for the privilege." And I'm just looking at them, going, "Are you crackers? Are you absolute fucking crackers? How can you complain about anything when you smoke? You're literally giving 20 quid a day, 20 quid a day." Fuck me. 140 quid a week. 140 quid, over £5,000 a year of your money. You're giving it to a corporation that's job, when the job is done correctly, gives you fucking cancer and kills 500,000 children a year who secondhand smoke in developing nations. Yeah, right. Anyway, I really, really hate cryptocurrency. I hate the idea of it. I hate that people try and sell it to me. It is a pyramid scheme. It is a pyramid scheme. End of. It's a fucking con. And I know that some people do rather well out of it. Yep, some people do rather well out of pyramid schemes. But it's just an absolute haven of criminal activity. All the stuff that people say about it is... most of it's bullshit. It's like, oh, well, it's democratizing money. No, it's not. It's just making the rich people even fucking richer. Anyway, the Nordic model. Let's talk about the Nordic model. So we got this is living, proven, real world socialism. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland constantly hit the top ranking, right, for happiness, life expectancy, economic competitiveness, social mobility, trust in government, education, worker productivity. Basically, every indicator that matters, Nordic model. Their taxes aren't seen as a punishment. They're seen as an investment. You pay more, but you get more. You get affordable housing, strong unions, clean energy, cheap transport, free universities, childcare, the works. They have thriving economies and global companies like Volvo, IKEA, Nokia, Spotify. The myth that socialism kills innovation is rebutted by everyday Nordic capitalism. The biggest wind turbine company in the world is fucking Danish. They have low inequality and high public trust. The exact opposite of Britain in 2025 and the exact opposite of the USA in 2025. Trust rises when people are being fucking screwed every day of their life. Funny that. And when, the social safety nets increase entrepreneurship, when bankruptcy doesn't ruin your life, ordinary people start businesses. No one wants to innovate, and I've said this a lot of times before, no one wants to innovate when the price of failure is homelessness. And so who do we leave the innovation to? The fucking Nepo babies! Who are just standing there on the sidelines, clapping their hands, going, "Dance, monkeys, dance." And we're going, "Okay, cool. Dance for the Nepo babies." God, what we should call the fucking this decade, innit? Caravan Lad, thank you very much for the £100. Oh no, sorry, that's your name. Caravan Lad 100. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Big thumbs up. Thank you. Yes. It serves the citizens with good lifestyles and content across the board. I'm all for it. Graham explaining it well. Oh, thank you. I hope I am. But yeah, in the UK, right, it's a case study of what happens when you privatise everything. Britain is living proof that unfettered capitalism becomes predatory capitalism very, very quickly. Water companies are dumping sewage, dumping shit in our rivers. There was a woman who was fined for pouring coffee into a fucking drain. Meanwhile, these companies are dumping sewage while paying executive bonuses. They capped the bonuses, so they gave the wages a fucking hike. Rail firms charge more than flights. Energy companies post record profits while pensioners are freezing their fucking tits off. Our privatised utilities cost more and deliver worse outcomes than European systems. We pay more for water, for energy, for transport, for broadband than any other equivalent country, and we get inferior services for that. The NHS is not failing. It's being starved on purpose to justify outsourcing to all these private companies. The what was it called? The Private Public Initiative, PPI, was it? 25 years ago under Blair, where they're like, we're going to bring in this private company and they're going to run they're going to build the hospital and run it for X many years and we'll pay for them. And these companies built these fucking hospitals, right? And here we are, 25 years later, they've still got the contract, right, to run these hospitals with no chance for any competition. No other company, no other private enterprise can bid to run that hospital. So what happens? Oh, this light bulb needs changing. Okay, let's change this light bulb here. I'll just send you the invoice for that. That'll be £500. There you go. Just make it out to John Q, taxpayer. Yeah, cool. Fucking hell. Fuck it, 500 quid for a fucking light bulb. And this is what's happening in the NHS today. Because we privatised so much of the ancillary stuff. It's costing us way more than it would have done in another world where we didn't privatise all this shit. But it's not just that it's privatised, it's that it's privatised in a weird way. It's privatised in a way that means there's no competition. And we see this on the buses, we see this in the water companies, the gas companies. You can't have 7 different water fucking pipes going to everyone's house and you choose which water company to use. You can't have 7 different fucking sewers for you to flush your shit down every day. You can't have that, can you? So how do you choose? All of the fucking lines. If I get Vodafone here, Vodafone broadband, right? Or Virgin, who puts the fucking line in? BT, Openreach, because they own the fucking lines. And they don't want to have like 7 different fucking lines going to everyone's house. And all this stuff just comes together. And you're like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we running things that are natural monopolies as some kind of competition? The company that got the contract to make that fucking hospital is the only company that can change the light bulb in that hospital. So what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to play fair? No, they're going to charge 500 quid to change a fucking light bulb. How many light bulbs are there in all the fucking hospitals in the fucking land? Just think about how big the yacht is of the chief executive of that particular logistics company. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That's very, very kind of you. Just to go on a little bit about the UK being just a case study in why unfettered capitalism is a fucking terrible idea. Wages have been stagnant in the UK since 2008. The longest stagnation of wages for 200 years. My friends, this is the longest stagnation since the dawn of the fucking Industrial Revolution. The stagnation of wages hasn't been like this since the advent of the fucking railways. This is insane, you know? Capitalism is supposed to create rising prosperity for all, but instead it's created Food Bank Britain. And Brits aren't particularly ideological, they're just not, you know, but they are pissed off. And they don't care what you call it. They care that they can't live. The cost of living. This is what people voted for in New York. Because Mamdani came along and said, I'm going to help you with your cost of living. And they were like, fuck yeah, that sounds fucking great. I want to do that. You know, socialism starts sounding pretty good when 60% of your income is being given to some other cunt for rent so they could pay off their second mortgage on a house they don't fucking need. And I think that this is why capitalism is losing the propaganda war. Young people have only lived in the downsides of capitalism. Debt, unaffordable housing, unstable work, collapsing public services. No wonder socialism polls higher than capitalism amongst under 35-year-olds. No fucking wonder. The social contract is broken. People work full time, but they can't survive. Certainly they can't thrive. This destroys capitalism's moral legitimacy. The idea is that capitalism, you work hard, you'll be okay. And that deal has been obliterated. It's been blown out the water. It has been nuked from orbit because it's the only way to make sure. Even Gallup says that capitalism's popularity has dropped 7 points since 2010. Meanwhile, Democrats' support for socialism has risen from 50% to 2/3, to a supermajority of people who regard themselves as Democrats in the USA now regard themselves as socialists as well, or they support socialism. And people have figured out that inequality is a choice. There's no natural order to life where the rich get to have everything and we get to have nothing. That's not a natural order at all. In fact, in the most happiest societies in the world, whether it's a little tribe in the middle of Papua New Guinea in the highlands there, or whether it's the Nordic model of, the Finnish education system, places where the inequality is lower, people are happier. There's a book about this called The Spirit Level, where they talk about the happiest societies in the world. They're not necessarily wealthy, but the wealthiest and the poorest, there's not such a gap. Okay, so we've got a couple more super chats come in. Thank you very much. We've got 3 of the 5 now. We need 2 more, and we've got 3.5 minutes to go. So if someone wants to drop in another 1 super chat, that's cool. Thank you very much to Kieran Crossan, first of all, for the £5 super chat. Capitalism needs competition, or else it's corporate capture. It has no place creating local monopolies. Yeah, absolutely. This is the Achilles heel of capitalism. And also, ironically, it's the Achilles heel of communism as well. People are greedy. People are greedy. This is based on a misreading of basic... Oh, confetti. Woo! We got confetti. Yay! But yeah, it's based on a misreading of just human nature. People are greedy. Not everyone, but a lot of people are fucking greedy. It's just not enough for them. And so if you have a communist system, there's always going to be people who are doing backhanders, or BAT, or whatever they called it in Soviet Russia. There's going to be people like using the system to feather their own nests. You had a system in Soviet Russia where the elites were living in gold fucking gilded palaces, where everyone else was queuing up for a fucking cold potato each week, to share amongst a family of 7. Both of them have this problem, whereas socialism steps between communism and between capitalism and acknowledges that people are greedy and says, let's put some rules into place. Let's put some regulations in there. Let's be sensible about this. Let's make a system that is fair, not just leaving it to the vagaries of the fucking markets, where we know where it ends up. We know where capitalism ends up. It ends up in a place where every burger in every fucking fast food restaurant tastes the fucking same. We don't have any variety. All the music sounds the same. All the films are the same fucking story told over and over again. There's no variety because we don't allow small companies, small enterprises, small entrepreneurs to make their mark. And it becomes homogenized. Late stage capitalism, to me, looks a lot like communism, except instead of the government owning all the monopolies, it's individuals like Elon fucking Musk and Peter Thiel owning all of these monopolies. And they're worldwide. It's not just one country that has to put up with this shit. What's the difference? And you take your medicine, you fucking enjoy it. You have one search engine. You have one music download fucking site. You have one video site. You have one fucking channel on the TV that tells you what you're allowed to watch, tells you what movies are available, and takes movies away at a whim so you can't watch them. You can't actually own them. There was a time when you couldn't get Dogma. The film, Dogma. You know, the Kevin Smith film, Dogma. You couldn't get it. Wasn't available on Blu-ray. Wasn't available on DVD for a while. You could buy a second-hand DVD. That's about it. Wasn't any streaming services. They had the power. They had the power to just get rid of a film. Famously, Supergirl, the movie. They filmed the whole thing and then canned it. Canned an entire movie that they fucking filmed. What the fuck? Was it Supergirl or Batgirl? It was Batgirl, wasn't it? So anyway, Jenny, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Why should young people embrace capitalism when they have no capital? Very good point. Liz Allen says, if corporations are people, let them suffer consequences like people. Yes, Liz. And that is the argument made in the movie The Corporation. They're like, if a human did this, they would go to jail for the rest of their lives. But because the corporation doing it, the people running the corporation can hide behind that and say, well, it wasn't me. Look at Michelle Mone. Look at her fucking disgusting husband, Doug Barrowman, stealing all that money from the taxpayer to pay for PPE that didn't even fucking work. And then refusing to give the money back. And then buying a property in Glasgow and in Miami that they're spending money on a yacht, the Lady M. Paid for through the desperation of people to stay safe during the COVID pandemic. Because don't forget, right, Michelle Mone and her fucking twat husband didn't just stiff us, us squishy little humans who pay tax in this country for hundreds of millions of pounds, right? They also killed healthcare workers. They helped murder the very people that we were clapping for. The very people that we were painting rainbows on the road for. Remember when we had thank you NHS? Remember that? They were killing them. Why were they killing them? Because the government, the NHS, people in charge were like, okay, we're going to get all these gowns. We're going to get all these masks. We're going to get all these things. They're going to come in. They check them. Sorry, we can't use these. They're not double bagged. They wouldn't have bought an extra load and spent over £100 million on an extra load of gowns because they've got the one that they had the order in. So for a point, there would have been a situation, obviously, where they were like, shit, we can't use these. We need to buy some more. And that whole process could take several weeks. How do they get over here on a ship, maybe? How long does it take to get a ship here from China? Glad you asked. It takes at least a month, at least. So you got a month where people didn't have the correct PPE all over the NHS and all over our healthcare providers in this country. And people fucking died. As a direct result of those scamming, scheming, Tory bastard fucks who stole all that money and killed people working for the NHS. And they're still walking free. They're still walking down the street like nobody's business. This is when I get all law and order. I don't know. Why are we putting these fuckers in jail? Hanging them upside down by their ankles for the rest of their fucking miserable, godforsaken lives. Why aren't we doing that, eh? Why? Why aren't we doing it? Yeah. But yeah, Liz, I agree. If corporations are people, let them suffer consequences like people. I wish we fucking would. John C., thank you very much for the £5 super chat earlier. Fartage was swanning around Trump's bigly, eat our shit peasants party at Mar-a-Lago. Clacton, wake up for fuck's sake. Well, Clacton's a little bit, it's a bit special, isn't it? So that's why he's the. I honestly think that they deserve him in Clacton. They deserve an absentee MP who's just there to make all the fucking money for himself. Because I think it serves as a warning for the rest of us. You see what happens when you have. Keir Starmer removed Dogma because of Harvey Weinstein's involvement. Keir Starmer, Kevin Smith. Thank you very much to Jenny Robinson there. No, there was a bit more to it than that. But yeah, obviously, Harvey Weinstein. Well, I told the story, didn't I, the other day about how Harvey Weinstein was ringing people up and asking them if they wanted to do a movie, and she would do another movie, she would do another Dogma, and it was just to see who had ratted on him for being a fucking disgusting, horrific sex offender. Jesus Christ, he's a fucking horror show, that man. But thank you for the thank you for being a member for 5 months there, Jenny. That's really cool. And check out Ollie Bowler Hatman interview video talking about refuck with a counsellor, and not a refuck counsellor. Bruges says Diz Bruges. Pete's Music. I'm so jealous of UK and European Aldi customers. Aldi doesn't sell yarn in the US. And Trump wants the Washington Commanders NFL stadium to be named after him, and they say MAGA isn't a cult of personality. I don't know who says it's not a cult of personality because they're not paying attention, clearly. But people have figured out that inequality is a choice. It really is. And during the pandemic, billionaires doubled their wealth while nurses used food banks. That just shattered any kind of myth, any kind of illusion that the system is fair. And if anyone tries to say to you about, the market, the capitalist system, I ask them to explain why, during the pandemic, billionaires doubled their wealth while nurses used food banks. Is that the system that we want to build? Is that the system that we want going forward? I don't think that it is. And the right scare tactics is just not working anymore. When you're drowning in bills, when you can't keep your head above water, when you can't afford a house, when you can't afford your rent, when you can't afford to have children, saying, but Venezuela, it's not a very persuasive argument, is it? It's not really cutting the mustard. And what Mamdani represents is a post-capitalist generation emerging. His win represents a coalition of voters who've stopped believing that capitalism can fix itself. I mean, he got some Republicans to vote for him, amazingly. These aren't people, or Trump voters, I didn't say Republicans, but Trump voters. Some of them voted for Mamdani. Not many, but these people aren't seeking revolution necessarily. They just want a functioning fucking society. And Mamdani's policies are popular, nationwide in America, even if the name socialism isn't. Free buses, rent freezers, childcare, taxing the rich. Again and again, when people asked about this, the US public and the public in the UK support these, even in conservative states and conservative areas of this country. New York is a bellwether city. When it shifts, it can shift the culture of an entire nation. And American culture, I hate that this is the fact, the world we live in, but American culture does have a huge impact on the rest of us around the world, especially in English-speaking countries. And the last time the New York City moved this far left, it helped spark a national political realignment, and it puts pressure on the Democrats Party and to move away from the timidity of the centralist tenants. If New York City's up for socialism, even if this form of socialism is socialism light, but it's still socialism. What's Labour afraid of? Eh? Labour. Whoop, whoop. Hello, Labour. What are you afraid of? So the big questions really for Britain is are British people finally sick of being told the state can't help them while these corporations get taxpayer-funded bailouts at every fucking verse end? That narrative, it's crumbling. People are seeing the hypocrisy across the board. And this is how we get through to people who are the Faragists, right? In the cult of Farage, they are generally paranoid, bit sus about government doing stuff. But, why are we bailing out corporations? Why are we bailing out Farage's buddies, the people that he works for, the big oil companies that he shills for? Why are we bailing them out with taxpayer money? Why are we giving oil companies fucking subsidies? Why are they getting any of my money to destroy the planet, to feather their own nests, to buy bigger yachts for their CEOs? Why is that happening? I don't want a penny. You got these people who are like, I don't want any of my money going towards asylum seekers. And you're like, well, it's fucking fuck all, mate. But you're giving more money to fucking billionaires in your tax. And, hopefully with this, hope springs eternal. But like, hopefully with what we see in New York, and don't forget, this isn't going to die as a topic anytime soon, because Trump has said he's going to war with Mamdani, so we know that's going to happen. We know this is going to be all over the news, and Mamdani does deliver on some of the stuff that he's promising. It's going to make Trump look fucking shit, where he's going, oh, mate, he's giving you free fucking buses. And everyone else who voted for Trump, all these little dickheads living in a swamp in fucking Alabama, are going to be going, oh, free buses. Sounds all right. Going, it's quite a difficult argument to make, that you should have to pay for your bus. It's the American thing. It's the American way. And, there is an opportunity here on this side of the pond, on this side of the Atlantic, for Labour to finally seize the moment. Starmer won't touch the word socialism, but the public mood is shifting. It's clearly shifting. And we could be on the edge of a political realignment that Labour are poised to take advantage of, if only Labour could get its head out of its fucking arse and actually understand what people are screaming out for. And I'm not talking about politics wonks like myself, but they need to understand that for them to move the country forward, they've got to be bolder. They have got to be bolder. They've got to sort out their comms. They've got to sort out party discipline. They've got to sort out their policies. Yes, it's great that they brought in the renters' rights bill. They're bringing in workers' rights as well. The biggest change, biggest upgrade of renters' rights since the 70s, the biggest upgrade of workers' rights since the 80s. We're going to see. And that is absolutely fantastic. And we should be applauding Labour for that. But they're not even applauding themselves. So what the hell are we supposed to do? So, I want to see a broad, hopeful vision for the future. The word socialism for decades, all my life, has been used for fear-mongering. And I think that what's happened this week, and I hope I'm not wrong on this, but it could really signal a shift away, a real shift, because people are choosing dignity over dogma. And it's all very well to say, oh, well, in an idealistic world, everything be run by the markets, and we could all give ourselves up to the shopping malls and the chintzy fucking tat that we like to buy. Yeah, when you can't afford to feed your family, all that ideological shit goes out the window, and we need to be ruthlessly pragmatic. And here's the thing, here's the takeaway from just this whole discussion, right? What we're talking about today. Socialism is actually ruthlessly pragmatic, because it addresses the biggest problem with capitalism and the biggest problem with communism. It addresses human greed. It addresses the psychology of humans. And we, little squishy humans, are the people that make these machines, that make these corporations, that make these oligarchs, that make the systems in which we live. And it doesn't have to be this way. There are better ways, and we can look at other countries and go, that's a better way to run an education system. That's a better way to run a public health system. That's a better way to run a public transport system. And we can take the best ideas from around the world, proven to work time and time again, and we can work towards a world, a country, right? And then a world where nobody is going to bed hungry, where nobody is scared of what's going to happen the next day. They know that they are secure. They have to, the landlord has to give them X amount of months if they're going to be thrown out of the house. They also can't be fired at a moment's notice. That certainty, that corporations love certainty. Investors love certainty, of course. But we like that as well. We would like a little bit of certainty in our lives. And for my generation, who came of age around the time of 9/11, you have we've gone from one crisis to another. We've never had the certainty that anything will be normal. We went to we went from just being able to jump on a plane whenever we wanted to having to take our fucking shoes off and have to declare all fucking liquids. We went from just being able to get a mortgage, if we were earning enough, to not being able to get a mortgage. We went from being able to afford rent because it was only 9% of our weekly take-home pay. 9% it used to be. Now it's over 50% for many people. And that's been normalized. There's so many things. We get used to this stuff and we just think it's normal. It's not. It's absolutely not. And we need to be addressing these inequalities. And the best way, I think, to do that is by making sure the government gets these fucking corporations to heel. Because we should be in charge. The people. It should be our decisions. Not the decisions of some fat fuckwit executive who lives thousands of miles away, who wouldn't fucking piss on you if you're on fire. It's got nothing to do with us. Doesn't care whether we live or die. Makes no difference to them. There's nothing that we can do as individuals to take out, to bring the head of these corporations to account. Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, all these fucking gobshites. There's nothing we can do individually. But our government can. Our government can say to, Elon Musk, hey, listen, mate, first of all, fuck off. Secondly, we're not going to allow your Starlink satellites to be used in the UK, so fuck off. And thirdly, we're not going to allow your fucking swastikars to be sold in the UK, so fuck off. And also, we're going to ban Twitter in the UK because it's full of porn and Nazis. We're gonna get rid of your porn Nazi site. It's not going to be available in the UK unless someone uses some kind of, VPN or something. There you go. Job's a good one. And if you fucking whinges, well, sort it out. Sort out your shit so it's not so fucking evil, and then, we can have a discussion. But it's up to our government to do that, and that's socialism, my friends. That is socialism right there, bringing the powerful to account, not allowing them to just get away with fucking murder, which is where we are at the moment with the unbridled capitalist system in which we live. So that was my Sunday sermon. I hope I brought you all on board. I don't think we disagreed anyway, because you wouldn't be watching this channel if we did. Lost Missionary says, British generalized think of Europeans as foreign than Americans, so I feel like we have more natural affinity with the US. Graham is touching on the Fantastic Edge. Oh, thank you very much, Kirsty, for that. The Fantastic Edge is the name of my third album, actually. Liz says, Aldi might have luck carrying on in the US now, especially after the demise of Joanne, which was private equity and late stage capitalism at work. Jay and Silent Bob is my main interested in Kevin Smith movies. Dogma is better than Jay and Silent Bob standalone movies. Dogma's good. Dogma's a good movie. Rejoiners realised Labour's head was firmly up its arse as soon as Brexit red lines appeared last year. Lost Missionary, keep it in your pocket. I'm away anyway. Take all. Thank you for the company and take care of yourselves. And one angry pagan who seems to be angry for some reason. Why are you so angry? Angry pagan. Oh, what pisses me off? He's going to tell me. The mentality that being English means you're not European. Fucking ridiculous. Our language is West Germanic one, meaning that that to be English is to be European. Well, yeah, England is part of Europe. It's part of the continent of Europe. Ask someone who's a fucking anti-Europe person in the UK. Say, what's the best continent in the world? Get them to answer that. It's always funny. Comment, unfortunately, you keep forgetting that Welsh Labour exists, or existed, I should say. Welsh Labour have always self-defined themselves as far as the left of UK Labour, but follow UK now. Yeah. I'm sorry, company. I didn't know I was not referring to them. I think Labour in totality at the moment are not showering themselves in glory, whether it's Scottish Labour or Welsh Labour or Labour. I just think, they could be doing a lot better. Preaching to the choir. Do you know what's really funny, Liz? That's what I was going to call this show. I was going to call it Preaching to the Choir. Maybe I'll just make that the tagline. Sunday sermon, every Sunday, 11 o'clock, Graham Hughes. Preachers to the choir. Super chats are open. Let me know if you agree. But yeah, no, I just wanted to do a show where I've got a little bit of hope. I've been a bit despondent, especially since Trump's re-election, about the state of the world. But, it's the hope that gets you in it. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. And thanks for the super chats. Really, really appreciate that. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock, with Morning Brew, Monday to Friday, 9 o'clock. And until then, I'll say thank you so, so much for watching. Hello, good evening. Give us a like on the way out. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and Goodbye.